for the largest tax hike in American history in order to bring this progress to a screeching halt. Congress must pass the one big beautiful bill to save American families from a looming $1,700 tax increase and instead give Americans a $1,300 tax cut. 77 million Americans voted to make the 2017 Trump tax cuts permanent. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax relief for seniors, and no tax on auto loan interest payments.
What's up, Patriots? Welcome back to Republican Forum. Now, look, I'll start with respect where it's due. Today's hearing began with a tribute to former Congressman Charlie Rangel, a Korean War veteran, a guy who rose up from the streets of Harlem to chair the Powerful Ways and Means Committee. I may not have agreed with his politics, but you gotta respect the hustle. That's what America's about. Rising above your circumstances. Patriotism means acknowledging sacrifice, even when it comes from across the aisle. Now, before we dive in, smash that like button, subscribe if you believe in the Constitution, and ring that Liberty Bell so you don't miss any truth.
So, Mr. Secretary, would you agree that I give great credit to Representative Massey, who stood on the floor and addressed the Congress during the debate on this bill, and he never criticized the president. He never criticized a fellow Republican. What he did was address the facts, and he laid them out very clearly. Let me quote what he had to say here. This bill is a debt bomb ticking. Congress can do funny math, fantasy math if it wants, but bond investors don't. This week, they sent us a message. Moody's downgraded our credit rating, and the bond investors who buy and finance our debt demanded higher interest rates on a 10-year note, 20-year note, and 30-year note. What does this mean? Very soon, the government will be paying $16,000 in interest for paying $16,000 of interest alone per U.S. family. What are we telling them instead of taking care of that problem? We are going to give them a tax break. The frustration you hear up here, of course, is that there's denial that tax breaks don't add to the national debt. Was Moody's wrong? Was Representative Massey's assessment wrong?
I can tell you that clearly Representative Massey doesn't understand the bond market, and that any 24-hour window, as he's just said, is incorrect. That I will point out that the U.S. 10-year, which I repeatedly reference, is the only major 10-year bond that has a lower yield this year. So has a lower yield today than it did on January 1st or January 20th. German yields are higher. Japanese yields are substantially higher, but U.S. 10-year yields are lower. So I'm not sure what's on Representative Massey's mind.
So Massey is wrong. And Moody's was wrong too?
Moody's, even the Democrats say that.
What do you mean, even the Democrats?
The last time that the U.S.
I don't know. What do you have to do with Moody's? You know?
In 2011, when the U.S. was downgraded, Larry Summers, then NEC head, called Moody's a lagging indicator.
Is Moody's wrong or right? Yes or no?
Moody's is a lagging indicator.
Okay,
and
so
anyone who
you can understand the frustration, and I appreciate your
Moody's
intelligence and ability to talk over. But when we're addressing the American people and we're in a hearing like this, someone as bright and as capable as you are could explain to the American people and still remain loyal to the president, loyal to our colleagues on this dais who supported the bill. There is a strong difference of opinion. And that's what is being expressed here, opinion. There's no focus or dedication on the actual facts. We'll find that out, and People on this aisle are saying, well, don't worry, there's going to be no impact on kids not getting food, 16 million people being kicked off of their health insurance. That's some mirage. That's some fictitious notion that Democrats have made up. And this national debt stuff, well, whether it's Moody's, whoever it is who has come out, whether it's the Wharton School, they're all wrong or misguided or uninformed, as Secretary Massey was. I yield back.
Mr. Schweikert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, how's the jet lag?
Been better.
Yeah, it's
been better.
Look, it's impressive, but I don't know if you get frequent flyer miles for all this traveling.
No, but I take my responsibilities of reporting to Congress very seriously.
No, we appreciate you making the effort to get here. I'm going to give you something that's a little bit different, but it's more some of the things we specialize with the Joint Economic Committee and those. We'd like to actually engage, this is probably more technical staff, on what we can do to actually, there's things we can do policy-wise, message-wise, product-wise, in regards to moving away from notes and bills and being able to create some additional interest liquidity on the bonds, moving out in the curve. With past Treasury Secretaries, we've done presentations on everything from Professor Schiller's Trill's idea, where it's a bond, but it actually has a slight attachment to as an equity interest in the U.S. tax receipts, so therefore it's sympathetic with tax revenues, to things you've actually written about or your team around you have written about, certain gold indexes and other things for long-term debt. My interest is very much, and this is a intellectual conflict many of us in Congress have, the substantial portion of growth of debt is demographics. We don't like to tell people the truth, but we have a dramatic shortage of young people in the country. Today, compared to 20 years ago, we have double the number of people 65, but our 18-year-olds are exactly the same as 20 years ago. It's demographics. And we're going to try to make demographics partisan because that's what we do. How does someone like me work with your team to actually give you product ideas, messaging to the markets and liquidity that going long on the curve is stable, and we're going to be there to protect our full faith and credit?
Congressman, you raise a very important issue, and what you're talking about is something called the dependency ratio. The U.S. is the only major industrialized economy where that ratio is roughly stable. It is in slight decline. Many other economies, Italy, Japan in particular, they are seeing the dependency ratio blow out, and hence their productive capability. We would welcome the opportunity to engage with you and your staff on any ideas that you may have. Right now, we are committed to the regular cadence of Treasury issuance as it is. I would add that in my lifetime, and I can't believe, to go back to experts, we always see, it's this industrial revolution, it's that industrial revolution. I'm not sure whether we're on the fourth or fifth, but I do believe that we are on an industrial revolution, an AI revolution that may lead to a productivity breakthrough that could be very important.
Mr. Secretary, you're stealing one of my speeches, but synthetic biology, AI, automation, and that's actually it's a side conversation on reindustrialization and the actual statistical information of how much of that's going to be labor substitute by automation, and therefore we may not get the same wage growth in the academic literature. But that's going to geeking out a little bit. My great interest is I don't believe many of us on this committee have spent enough time, whether it be a Democrat in the White House, a Republican, on debt management and the fact we on this committee have the responsibility to work with you in Treasury to have as much stability in that model. Because today we borrow, what, about $72,000 a second? You know, outside the math for extraordinary measures.
I haven't done it by second, but I think
yeah,
on a daily basis. But Congressman, I can tell you, the thing that would give us the greatest debt stability is the increasing the debt ceiling.
No,
because
I don't disagree
that
with...
is a cataclysmic outcome that we will never allow to happen.
Mr. Secretary, absolutely agree. Visibility, capacity is important. But even your own numbers, in 9 years, we borrow about $100,000 a second, almost solely driven by demographics, healthcare, Medicare, and interest. I beg of you, it's hard to do in front of these microphones because it's uncomfortable to talk about, but it's math, and it's the reality of what we are as people. We need to work together to provide visibility to these debt markets. And with that, I yield back.
Now, let's get into the meat of it. President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, or O3B, is the kind of bold, unapologetic, America First action we need. I mean, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, permanent 2017 tax cuts. That's not just policy. That's respect for the working man and woman. Tell me what's wrong with letting waitresses keep their hard-earned money without Uncle Sam taking a bite out of every shift. You've got linemen restoring power through the night. They shouldn't be punished for overtime. This bill understands that. And of course, here come the Democrats with their tired playbook. This only helps the rich. They say, oh, really? Then explain why millions of Americans making under $100,000 get a 13% tax cut under this bill. Meanwhile, the so-called millionaires they always cry about, they'll carry an even higher tax burden. The truth is, Democrats hate anything that puts power back into your hands. They want control. They want dependency. And they sure as hell don't want Trump fixing their mess. Secretary Bessent laid it out. Trump's trade negotiations are doing what Biden wouldn't dare do. Fight back. We're seeing fairer deals, lower deficits, and more countries knocking on America's door to get a piece of what we built. China's been playing us for decades. Manufacturing jobs? Gone. Real wages? Flat. But now, we got tariffs that make sense. We've got partners respecting American strength again. And the globalists? They're shaking in their boots. You know what drives me nuts? The Democrats who suddenly care about the national debt. Where were you when trillions went to Ukraine, Big Pharma, and DI initiatives nobody asked for? But now that Trump wants to give your family a break at the gas pump in your paycheck and at the grocery store, now it's a problem. They want you poor, angry, and dependent. But Trump's giving us hope, jobs, and freedom. Let's talk sovereignty. For years, we let foreign governments leech our tax base. Trump says no more. This bill defends American businesses from foreign greed. It says we're not bending the knee to global tax cartels. That, my friends, is leadership. This is what putting America first really looks like, not just slogans. Real policy, real protection. Here's the truth, patriots. This isn't just about a tax bill. This is about the soul of America. Do we want a bloated, centralized government that punishes work and rewards laziness? Or do we want a country that rewards hard work, defends its people, and stands strong in the face of global threats? The One Big Beautiful Bill is a test of who really stands with the American people. And I say it loud and proud. I stand with Trump, I stand with the working class, and I stand with this bill. If you're sick of being lied to, if you believe in jobs, freedom, and sovereignty, share this video. Drop a comment below with hashtag One Big Beautiful Bill if you support tax cuts for working Americans. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on that bell so you're never left in the dark. This is Republican Forum, and we will always put America first. God bless and keep fighting.